With us now are Professor Orien Tulp, President of the University of Science, Arts and Technology, USAT, and Ken Hyman. A pleasure to have you with us, sir.
Nice to meet you.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Richard.
This is a really nice opportunity. Finally, we are meeting with Ken, and I have a lot of questions about life on Montserrat and plans for development there. But first, sir, we are here in Miami right now in this airport hotel where you're holding classes. What's happening today?
Well, today we have psychiatry, pathophysiology, and some other, high yield subjects that are being taught throughout the day in preparation for the U.S. medical boards that cover areas of psychiatry and cognitive behavior, behavioral medicine, and pathophysiology. The main focus is psychiatry and musculoskeletal disorders for today's sessions.
What I find interesting is, even though the university is based in Montserrat, actually you hold classes very conveniently in beautiful hotels like this, not only in Miami, but in other parts of the United States and elsewhere. And interestingly, the University of Science, Arts and Technology has a greater number of students that graduate with medical degrees that actually practice later than some of the, or all of the big universities. Tell me if this is correct.
That is absolutely correct. USAT, because of the advanced level students that we normally select, we have the highest residency placement match for U.S. residencies of all of the Caribbean schools. It's about 95%, and that is equal to those of the U.S. medical schools, the traditional schools in North America. And that's really exceptional. They get excellent residencies at places like Wayne State University, one of the top 10 residency locations in the United States, and others right here in Miami. We've got them doing residency training and practicing as licensed physicians throughout Florida and other parts of the United States. It's a unique program because it enables students who are working full time, oftentimes, to complete their medical school as they can move along and do it. Most of them complete it in about the same time as they would in the U.S. program, but at much less cost because of the way the courses are structured.
This is most interesting, and I'd like to actually address some questions to you, Ken.
Yes, I'll be more than happy to answer those questions.
This is an amazing island that has experienced some natural mishaps. Tell us about life on Montserrat these days.
Well, we're trying to, see if we can rebuild Montserrat to a position where everyone can be comfortable and feel safe. We're pretty much safe in terms of the volcano because that section of the island which we now occupy has been declared safe, and since we have not had any major eruptions or any eruptions at all since 2009. But life goes on. It's really business as usual. People are still going out to work. People are still trying to provide for their families. People are still coming and visiting Montserrat. Montserratians, those who are in the diaspora, would come back maybe once, twice a year to visit family. So life is not any different from any of the other Caribbean islands. As a matter of fact, based on what is happening on the ground, we seem to be doing a lot better than most of the other islands.
It so happens there's a lot of interest in Montserrat. For example, the Life Extension Foundation and billionaires such as Peter Thiel and others are very interested in the concept of investing in Montserrat with regard to research facilities, even a high-end resort or two, and I'll put them in touch with you. Currently, how is tourism doing in Montserrat?
Well, from where I sit and from what I know, it has fallen off considerably because they cry it's about access in and out of Montserrat. I do not see the problem with access because we have an airport. We also have a ferry service which runs 5 days per week. But the weather and the other elements are also factors as to whether we can put on a reliable service on a daily basis. But there has been a fall off in terms of tourism. And what I'm hearing from the experts is that people are questioning access in and out of Montserrat.
All the more reason for there to be some serious investment.
Yes, yes. We need to have some, and that is one of the problems, because I said to some friends the other day that the mindset has to change. After 20 years, it cannot be about aid anymore. It has to be about investment. We need to make that transition, because I believe the time for aid is over. And if they had planned this properly, because they must have known from the very onset and once the scientists were on the ground that we would be in that area for some considerable amount of time. And so the approach was really aid in the first instance, but gradually shift from aid to investment, because when you follow the history of disasters, whether it be Africa or elsewhere, no country has ever been successful simply by way of aid. It has to be a combination of the two, or simply move from aid into investment. That is the only how you're going to thrive and be sustainable.
Most interesting, Ken, and I'd like to ask you to comment on that. The thought of integrating some serious investments in Montserrat with regard to research facilities, enhancing tourism, building resorts and so forth. What's your view on that?
Well, in our proposed campus redevelopment, we will have a technology building, we'll have a state-of-the-art medical school, the most state-of-the-art in the Caribbean, up-to-date computer technology. We already have parts of that in place because we have our own satellite communications network right on campus. The only medical school in the Caribbean that has its own satellite communications network. And that is absolutely essential so that you can maintain the integrity of the academic instruction. And what that does for us, that allows us to bring in state-of-the-art professors from around the world to lecture in Montserrat using modern technology.
Distance learning in its true form.
It is not distance learning, because they are live lectures, and they have to be live lectures to be recognized by most state medical boards.
Interesting.
So we've made sure that we've covered that base very carefully, because all medical instruction is one of the few remaining fields where all of the instruction absolutely must be hands-on live instruction with a professor. And with our satellite network, the students are interactive with the professor during the lecture.
As if they're physically there. It's
As
wonderful.
if they're physically there.
By the way, I must apologize to our audience. We are in a busy hotel right now, and there is some background festivity going on. Ken, back to you. How do you see the possibility of the future that Professor Tulp envisions in enhancing and increasing the activity with regard to medical research, which has a very great opportunity in a location like Montserrat, more so than with the restrictions that occur here in the United States? How do you see that possible future?
Well, I could always trust anything that Professor Tulp says, because he's the expert, and he and I would have had this discussion before. And it has to be a welcome feature in Montserrat. Clearly, it would put us ahead of most of the other islands. And the enormous benefit which can come from such an investment. And so it is up to those in authority to really collaborate with Dr. Tulp and his team to ensure that this is done. Because it's only one thing that can happen, is that the entire country, nation will benefit.
What are your thoughts with regard to the possibilities of actually increasing very significantly the scope of not only development in Montserrat, but medical training, research, and other?
But we have a very active research program. You know, in the most recent commencement, we graduated 6 PhDs, all of whom did very significant state-of-the-art research in areas of such as obesity, diabetes, and other disorders. so they're clinically related PhDs, and they're absolutely excellent candidates now for residency, because that's an important add-on when a student applies for residency training, specialty training in the United States and abroad. Our major areas focus on stem cell technology and applications, where we have a number of faculty who have expertise in those areas, and biophotonics, which is very useful in the treatment of drug-resistant microbial disorders and viral disorders, and also some other autoimmune disorders like type 1 diabetes. So these are state-of-the-art technologies that are emerging in the medical field, and USAT is one of the leading schools in this. We have collaborative studies that are going on in Spain, in Italy, and other countries around the world, in addition to those in the United States. We've recently acquired a clinic in Florida, where we intend to continue to expand the clinical aspect of that research. And that also serves as a site for clinical training, as an additional site for clinical training for our medical students, so that they will have an exposure to research and to medicine as it's going to be practiced in the future, because the art of medicine is changing rapidly. Also, the art of medical education is changing rapidly, more rapidly now than ever before, and than ever before in history. We now have technology that we didn't have a decade ago, or even a few years ago, that we can apply to the classroom to make the lectures even more intense and a more solid learning experience. No longer do we have the standard medical education of the past, where you have a student with a notebook taking notes, listening to a professor. Now they're integrated, they're into the system. The computer has to be present in the classroom throughout the lecture, because it's totally interactive. And the benefit is the learning curve is steeper and more rapid, more accelerated than it's been ever before.
Well, people do like efficiency.
Oh, they do indeed. And they don't like to have to go back and restudy something. But if you structure the presentation appropriately, using the best of teaching educational technology and teaching techniques, you can get more information into their mindset in a shorter time and make it stick.
Very interesting. Ken, I'd like to ask you a little bit about life on the island from another aspect, real estate. I understand that quite a few people from England and elsewhere and the United States are more interested than ever in creating a little haven for themselves, like a vacation or permanent residence there, and real estate prices are unfortunately rising.
Yes, that is so. And if you were to follow the history of Montserrat, since the very early 1970s or late 60s, we have had that type of tourism. People building retirement homes or second home for them to come and enjoy the vacation. And again, I think that people also have the mindset that Montserrat is safe. Okay? There might be some concern about certain aspect of Montserrat life, like, for example, not being exposed to the best medical care in the event that they should fall ill. But people are still prepared to take their chances, because if they have the means, they can go offshore and have that treatment done. But it is really what the country offers. If they're of the view that it is conducive to what they want, they're quite prepared to come and settle on Montserrat. But it's a beautiful country, and it is no surprise it is called the Emerald Isle of the Caribbean. And
I foresee a great future ahead for Montserrat. This has been very illuminating, very interesting, and I thank you very, very much for being with us today.
Thanks very much.
We have to do this again sometime in the near future.
Yes.